Howdy, 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 my name's Anacha Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. There was supposed to be an episode yesterday, but heat waves are terrible. So, in this ow, bit my tongue. In this episode, we're going to be reading Criminal Past, Timmy, Buried Giant, Damaged Toy Horse, and Child Storybook. So, a lot of these sound like they're going to be child-related, but Timmy is in quotation marks. So who knows? Well, the criminal past is safe. SCP-1191 is to be stored in an opaque Type 4 safe class containment locker at Sector 28. Neither it nor its locker is to be handled in any way except as necessary for testing. If the object must be moved, the entire locker is to be relocated by a class of disposable dudes, all of whom must be given every reason to believe that the locker is empty. The locker is to be dehumidified and protected from insect and fungal infestation, and the object should be given regular visual-only checks for deterioration. Description: SCP-1191 is a rotten willow tree branch approximately 97 centimeters long by 1.5 centimeters in diameter, with a prominent kink 31 centimeters from the base. Any intentional manipulation of it results in the activation of its anomalous properties, which are not fully categorized at this time. Manipulation includes any physical contact made either directly or indirectly via handheld or remotely operated tools, with the intent of examining, moving, damaging, or otherwise directly affecting 1191. Contact made at one remove, i.e. by ordering another person to handle it, affects the person in direct contact but not the person who gave the order. Contact with a container holding it counts as manipulation if and only if the contactor is aware of its presence inside the chamber. All contact with 1191 has been carried out by disposable dudes with histories of violent crime. Persons handling the object report immediate panic and disorientation. They begin, quickly and without external provocation, to protest their innocence. Further investigation reveals them to bear memories of an alternate timeline in which they did not commit one particular act of violence. In most cases, the act which led to their eventual relegation to disposable dudes. Affected personnel retain these memories indefinitely, although they gradually reacquire memories of our timeline over a period of 40 hours after contact. During those first 40 hours post-exposure, subjects frequently claimed that 1191 retroactively inserted a violent episode into their personal history. In support of their claims, these subjects have demonstrated implanted knowledge beyond their clearance, both of technical details and interpersonal information. Use of D-Class personnel in certain contact events appears contrary to Foundation procedure. It is presently unclear whether 1191 is causing spurious knowledge generation or actually altering timelines. A test capable of distinguishing between these two possibilities has not yet been designed. Addendum Recovery Report. Agent Blank was dispatched to Blank, Canada to investigate unusually high density of violent crime, accompanied by former convict D something. The pair discovered an abandoned vehicle in a wooded lot located at 4 something degrees north, 1 something degrees west. While investigating the vehicle, D picked up 1191. Agent reports immediate distress followed by abrupt and unprompted denial of a previous crime, in support of which D demonstrated detailed knowledge of Foundation retrieval agent procedure. Agent Blake returned without permitting D to release 1191 at any point, employing coercion where applicable. No further items resembling 1191 have been recovered from the recovery site. D was later administered a Class R amnestic and designated Personnel 1191-1. Okay, excerpts from Experiment Log. Test 3. D-1191-12. 12 was instructed to remove a 1 cm transverse section of 1191 using a circular saw. Upon picking up 1191 to move it onto the circular saw, 12 reported confusion followed by intense mental distress and unprompted verbal denial of 3 previous murders. 1191 cast aside, slightly chipped upon contact with floor. Test 4. Personnel 44, 67, and 108. The 3 disposable dudes were instructed to touch it simultaneously. All 3 experienced convulsions, denying previous episodes. Interestingly, the episodes denied were not in any case those that led to the individual's initial incarceration. Test 6. Personnel 13. 13 was directed to move 1191 from the chamber corner 0.5 meter with 0.5 meter iron tongs. Upon grasping 1191 with the tongs, 13 reacted violently, insisting upon alternate history induced by the object. Under extensive questioning, 13 demonstrated knowledge consistent with security clearance level 1/1191, insisting that he was a research assistant and a law-abiding citizen. Test 10. 53. 53 was seated in Control Booth 75, given access to a standard Foundation remote control exploratory drone, and instructed to transfer 1191 to a new containment locker with better preservative facilities. At the moment of contact between the drone's manipulators and 1191, 53 abruptly became confused and distressed, verbally denying involvement in the preschool bombing for which she was incarcerated. Further questioning was unsuccessful, revealing only that the subject now experiences considerable distress at the memory of child casualties. Note, Dr. Blank was reprimanded for permitting D-Class personnel contact with exploratory drones, which are equipped with easily weaponizable sampling tools, and for allowing direct personal contact between D-Class and Foundation operatives. Okie dokie. So, I guess that one's safe because as long as nobody touches it, you're fine. But what happens if you touch it and you didn't have a criminal past? But I guess if you work at the Foundation, that's not really an option. So, Timmy is Euclid. SCP-1192 is contained in a dedicated aviary and is to be provided a diet of fruit supplemented with protein and vitamin additives, as it refuses to consume seeds and insects that are a part of normal diet for its species. 1192 is to be provided with several pencils and pages of paper to allow it to communicate. In the case that 1192 becomes belligerent, mild sedatives may be introduced into its food and water supply under close veterinary supervision. Description: SCP-1192 is a juvenile male gang cockatoo. Calocephalon fimbriatum? A species normally native to Southeast Australia, approximately 33.5 centimeters in length. Might as well see what that guy looks like. Right, I forgot I'm using Bing instead of Google. Never mind. It's not gonna let me open it in a separate window like Google does. I forgot. Sorry. I'll have to change that later. 1192 appears to be sapient and exhibits intelligence and common knowledge consistent with that of a human child between the ages of 6 and 8. 1192 is unusually disheveled as it appears to be unable or unwilling to preen itself, and has difficulty flying despite being essentially healthy and uninjured. Close examinations have shown a slight healed-over contusion on the back of its head, but no internal injury or damage was ever found. 1192 was discovered and brought into containment by Agent Blankety Blank on blank blank blank, who at the time was embedded as an undercover agent in Newark Police Department in New Jersey. It is believed at this time that 1192 began following Agent Blank and trying to attract his attention because of the perception of an authority figure in police uniform. Agent Blank became suspicious due to 1192's unusual species and erratic behavior and sent a request for assistance. A Foundation containment team was dispatched and was able to detain 1192 and bring it to Site Blank for examination. Okay, Experiment Log 1. Shortly after initial containment, experimentation was performed in which 1192 was introduced to a multitude of objects in a controlled environment in order to deduce its abilities. Upon being introduced to the testing chamber, 1192 immediately gravitated to a pencil and paper and began to attempt to write crude sentences. At this point, Dr. Blank was brought in an attempt to communicate with 1192. SCP-1192 writes, "Who are you?" "I'm Dr. Blank. I'm here to speak with you." "Who are you?" Writes, "Timmy," followed by, "Where am I?" "You are at a medical center, Timmy. A hospital." "Do you know what happened to you?" Writes, "No, then I want to go home." "Where do you live, Timmy?" After several minutes and with some difficulty, 1192 managed to write down an address for a residential home in Blank, Montana. Undercover agents sent to the specified address, residents determined that the location is inhabited by Mr. and Mrs. Blank, as well as their son Timothy Blank, age 7. Agents assigned to monitor the family have noted nothing out of the ordinary with the family thus far. Addendum 2, Researcher Note. As 1192 was unable to manipulate objects with enough coordination to play with the video games it requested, and it shows little interest in the other toys we have offered it, it has taken to scribbling and making crude drawings with the materials we have provided. A list of notable materials are as follows. Several pages of unrelated words presumed to be writing practice. Several pages of crude drawings including race cars, airplanes, and fictional animals and monsters. A single page with the words, "Why am I a bird?" as well as several more indecipherable sentences. A drawing of what appears to be a small child holding the hands of two adults. The child is scratched out and the paper is ripped. The reverse side of the page has the words, "I want my mom." A single page with 126 instances of mom and 76 instances of the word home. Dr. Blank, senior researcher. So somebody did something to their child, but the child that they still have is fine. Now for the buried giant. The buried giant is safe. Okay, sure. The borehole containing SCP-1193-1 is to be capped with a tungsten steel grate containing a locking 2.5 cm endoscopy aperture. At 48-hour intervals, the borehole is to be endoscopically inspected to a depth of 4 kilometers for further manifestations of 1. Seismographic monitoring devices are posted at 2, 7, and 11 kilometer depths alongside the 1 borehole. Seismic readings consistent with subterranean movement are to be reported immediately to Site Director Iqbal. In the event of subterranean containment breach, containment staff are to execute Protocol 473A, severing 1 below the 5th elbow and backfilling remaining portions of the borehole with pressurized concrete. The basement containing 1193 is to be monitored at all times by a Foundation interrogator. SCP-1193-2 is to be answered on or before the 3rd ring. Interrogators should attempt to elicit self-directed responses from 1. Responses which implicate size, body plan, location, or further manifestations are to be recorded and documented to LTR. Alright? SCP-1193-1 is a genetically normal human arm of unusual length located in a drainage pipe inside the basement of a telephone switching station at Scottsdale, Arizona. In Scottsdale, Arizona. 10 centimeters below the drainage grate, the arm terminates in an unremarkable human hand of indeterminate gender. Upon initial examination, the arm was believed to extend through the drainage pipe to a depth of 35 meters. Subsequent endoscopic investigation demonstrated that the arm extends to at least a depth of 71 kilometers, passing without apparent difficulty through the Mahorovic discontinuity and the upper mantle, with regularly spaced elbows at every 4 kilometers. Elbows below a depth of 26 kilometers are slightly retroflexed to accommodate a 9-degree southward bend in the drainage borehole. Continued endoscopic investigation into the 1 borehole is suspended due to presently intractable engineering constraints. Communications via 2, mostly concerning 1's oven and refrigerator, indicate that 1 may lack conventional thermal reception and that it is experiencing no substantial discomfort despite borehole temperatures in excess of 674 degrees centigrade. 2 is a GPO 746 telephone, topaz yellow, manufactured in 1971. Its dimensions preclude it having been delivered to the site via the borehole. Containment team's present working theory is that it was installed topside for the purpose of communicating with 1. Installation was conducted by unknown parties by unknown means for unknown purposes. The rotary dial has been glued into place, rendering it unsuitable for outgoing phone calls. It is attached to a conventional twisted hair line which enters the drainage pipe connecting to 1 and descends parallel to 1 until endoscopy is no longer practicable. At between 8:38 and 10:34 in the morning, Mountain Standard Time, each weekday, the phone will ring 5 times. If answered, an unidentified voice will willingly engage in conversation with SCP personnel. The voice on the other end of the line invariably claims to be a human being and regularly mistakes the individual on the other end of the phone for an authority figure. Interrogation to date has therefore been relatively uncomplicated. Notable parallels exist between information elicited via 2 and demonstrable facts about 1. To date, anomalous information received via 2 has included references to human features but an anomalous body plan, references to insensitivity to heat or cold, references to a cousin or other relative who will soon arrive to pick him up, references to discomfort and boredom at confinement, references to minor seismic events along the Little Chino Fault Complex, references to discomfort at having a limb or other body part restrained, as by handcuffs, a jelly jar, a pipe, a cast, or in one instance, a gopher hole. At present, data related to 1's size, physical form, and body plan beyond the parts visible through endoscopic investigation should be regarded as provisional. For contingent protocols and physiological testing data, consult document RTMR Delta. Transcript of LTR-7. Good morning, and who may I ask is calling? David. And where are you now, David? Sorry, who's this? Dr. Hassan Iqbal, Director of Research. Oh, from the hospital? That's right. So, when does the cast come off? I'm sorry? The cast on my bottom arm? When does it come off? I'm to understand that you've got a cast on your bottom arm. I don't understand. Which arm is that? The bottom one. Can you take it off? I've already been in the hospital for 3 months. Seems like it should be about time. You say you're in a hospital now. You should know you're the one who put me there. I think you must have been mistaken for someone else. Look, if you can't help me, put someone who knows what he's talking about on the line. I'm afraid I'm the only one here. Fine, just tell me when someone competent gets to the phone. Call terminated. Call 8. God damn it, god damn it, god damn it. Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Who is this? Where are you? For Christ's sake, I'm stuck in the stove here, man! Get the fire department! The stove? I'm sorry, the stove? Yeah, the stove. I went in here to get out some cakes and now I can't get back out. You went in the stove to get out some cakes? Am I hearing you correctly? It's a tight fit here. Jesus. Is the temperature uncomfortable? The what? Temperature. Are you in pain? I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you call the goddamn fire department? My back. Jesus Christ, my back. I'm the only person here. I can't take it anymore. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm calling my cousin now. I'm so sorry. This isn't my fault. Call terminated. Well, that doesn't sound very good. When was this one last updated? September the 21st of 2020. Alright. That brings us up to the damaged toy horse. Are you going to be safe, Euclid or Keter? Okay, you're safe as well. SCP-1194-1 is to be kept in a secured storage locker at Research Sector 12 when not in use. The activation of 1194 is to be initiated through the termination of the active 2T subject, or if more convenient, the 2 instance. Testing Chamber 13A, Standard Humanoid Containment Unit, and B, modified to serve as a stable, are to be maintained for the purposes of experimentation involving 1194. Please see Document C for extensive information on standard testing procedure. Description: SCP-1194 consists of 2 parts, 1 and 2, as you do. 1 is a small device, roughly 3 by 1 by 4 centimeters, consisting of a speaker attached to a pull string, roughly 6 centimeters of which is exposed while not being activated, with an actual length of roughly 11 centimeters, and a plastic case. Analysis of the speaker, however, shows it to have at some point been rendered inactive, despite the remainder of the mechanism being functional. Upon being protracted, the string will slowly retract to its original length at a rate proportional to the length removed. When a female subject pulls the string until an additional 3 centimeters is exposed, 1194 is activated, causing the manifestation of a 2 instance. The relevant female is at this point considered 2T and then assigned a specific number. Partial retraction, or retraction by a male subject, does not have this effect. 2 is an organism largely similar in physiology and morphology to an adult member of Equisferus cabalis, with an average height of 139 centimeters. Upon the activation of 194, 2 will appear on the nearest suitable flat surface, provided such a space is present within 30 meters of the device. Suitable flat surface refers to any solid surface with a great enough area to accommodate a standing full-grown horse, without any inhibiting factors such as the presence of liquid or solid matter, extreme ambient temperature, etc., which would cause severe injury to or restrict the movement of the specimen. Otherwise, activation will fail to occur. Instances have displayed various sizes, breeds, and both sexes, and are notable for various biological irregularities, including the presence of beta-cyanins, para-rosanilene, and other pigments not usually found in mammals on their coats, typically causing a mild purple or pink coloration. Specimens do not synthesize or otherwise produce these chemicals, causing this coloration to fade over time. The death of a 2 specimen, that of the relevant 2T subject, or the string of 1 being pulled during an active state, will cause the current instance of 2 to disappear. Should the lattermost situation occur, a new specimen will appear provided the conditions for this occurring are met. Upon disappearing, the volume previously occupied by the specimen will be replaced by a gas consistent in composition and density with standard tropospheric air. The following is a copy of the text found on a torn document recovered with SCP-1194-1, see below. A section of the document has been rendered illegible. Further investigations reveal no information regarding the object's relation to Group of Interest Dr. Wondertainment. Cowgirl, looks like you've got your very own Wonder Pony! Dr. Wondertainment's Wonder Pony is a fun educational toy, which will help teach any horse-loving girls things like how to take care of a sick horse, the importance of care and attention, and how to feed a horse, all without having to take care of the muck. Not only that, but your pony will provide constant companionship and friendship. Your very own real Wonder Pony can even section damaged. Pony is the intellectual property of Dr. Wondertainment. Dr. Wondertainment assumes no responsibility for physical, mental, or emotional harm caused by the misuse of Dr. Wondertainment's Wonder Pony, if disassembled or otherwise damaged. Dr. Wondertainment takes no responsibility for the destruction of life created by Dr. Wondertainment, or damage caused to said life after creation. For more information, please contact the Public Relations Department currently associated with Dr. Wondertainment. Specimens of SCP-1194-2 behave in a manner normal for a horse of their estimated age, typically 4 to 5 years, except in 3 at time of writing known cases. Please refer to documentation regarding 2-5, 9, and 2-5, 9, and 13, all of which were significantly below the average age of other specimens. Several notable anatomical and physiological distinctions are, however, present. Firstly, specimens are effectively incapable of vocalization. Examination has revealed no direct cause of this, as no features of relevant tissue or mouthpart seem to function in a preventative manner. Experimentation involving the placement of specimens in situations which would cause distress has failed to provoke any vocal reaction, despite successfully doing so in the cases of normal horses. Specimens do not excrete feces or urine, despite intaking and digesting food normally. Specimens do, however, maintain a relatively constant mass if well fed, and will lose mass if not provided with food. How this is regulated is not currently known. Extended lack of contact with their relevant 2T subject has invariably resulted in several severe symptoms occurring in 2 specimens, usually becoming noticeable after 4 days without physical contact, and substantially affecting behavior after 7 to 8. This has, in all known cases, followed the same progression. Heart rate first decreasing at a constant rate, followed by the symptoms of prolonged nutrient deprivation, and the specimen behaving in a way consistent with that of horses experiencing illness and starvation. Death will occur at 14 days. The exact cause of this is not known due to the disappearance experienced by 2 upon dying. The unusual pigments present within the coat of specimens will regularly, i.e. once every 3 to 12 months, be replaced with green cadmium dye, eventually causing acute poisoning from absorption over several days. This process is gradual, marked by a decrease in the intensity of the previous coloration as the former pigment reduces in concentration while the cadmium increases, and typically takes 2 to 3 days to complete. While this is rarely fatal, the symptoms typically associated with exposure to the toxin manifest by the time the dye's concentration stops increasing. Continued exposure to 2T appears to lessen the severity of these symptoms, and the substance will disappear from the body of specimens over the course of several minutes under a week after initially appearing. When this occurs, the pigment previously removed will return, often to the concentration possessed during the initial manifestation of the specimen. In all instances of this occurrence, specimens have made a full recovery with provision of appropriate treatment. SCP-194-1 was originally recovered from a house in blank England after an automated search of local police files regarding the suicide of one blank blank. The remains of a ceramic and plastic casing resembling a generic horse of no discernible breed, apparently broken by extreme fall damage, were also found within a meter of the object. Said casing's exterior displayed similarity to that of toys designed to accommodate pull-string speakers. Approximately 20% of the casing could not be located, and standard post-acquisition protocol was later completed. Addendum refer to endoscopy reports 1194-blank-through-blank. Extensive analysis has demonstrated a consistent structural abnormality in the vocal folds of 2 specimens. Research is ongoing. Update 2000-something-something-something. The vivisection of 2-something-6, 7, and 8 has revealed their vocal apparatus to bear a notable similarity to that of an adolescent human female, despite the fact that both 2-blank 6 and blank 8 were male. It is unknown if this represents the entirety of the organisms produced by 1194. It's also testing is currently being planned. And that brings us over to a child's storybook, which is also safe. SCP-1195 is to be stored in a standard safe class storage locker. The locker is to be locked by keypad, the combination known to the current head researcher, and changed in event of a new researcher. 1195 is to be placed on a standard lecture podium for ease of reading, unless being dictated to or otherwise being used in experimentation. Personnel are instructed to cease any oration that is seen to provoke an unintended negative response. Okay. Description. SCP-1195 is a leather-bound book approximately 25 by 17 centimeters of indeterminate origin and age. Carbon dating on the pages has given inconsistent results, and forensic examination of the leather matches no known species. It seems to have a variable number of pages, averaging at approximately 400. 1195's anomalous properties become apparent whenever it is opened. Most often, the first page is found blank, and after a moment, the object will attempt to communicate via written text bleeding onto the page. It will always initially communicate in Euskara, but upon being responded to in any other language, it will continue to interact with the spoken, written one instead. Its method of instantaneously understanding and learning new languages is unknown and recommended for further study. 1195 has demonstrated an ability to converse in Braille in experiments with blind test subjects. Upon being activated in this way, it will make one of various requests. See document W37 for a full list of requests. The most common request is to be told a story. When a story, allegory, or other similarly descriptive speech is directed towards it, 1195 will begin transcription. If the story is not told in a general readable format, it will reformat without noticeable loss of speed in the process. If allowed pauses during the story, 1195 will offer criticism, encouragement, and other comments, depending on the oratory skill, imagination, or interest of the speaker. Generally, 1195 is willing to continue this process indefinitely, creating new pages as needed for extremely long stories. The maximum number of pages observed has been 3,189, at which point 1195 stated that it was bored and that the experiment in progress was stupid. 1195 then closed itself, and upon being reopened was observed to only have 120 pages. However, whether this was due to dissatisfaction with the experiment or the quality of the narrative is unknown. 1195 has no direct means of locomotion. However, it can close itself with up to 15 newtons of force and turn its own pages. It generally allows itself to be handled by anyone save those who have physically damaged it or angered it previously. All attempts to coax 1195 into divulging information about its origins, history, or other personal data have met with failure, as 1195 states it would need permission to share its personal history. Stories transcribed into 1195 will, in most cases, not remain long, with the exception of stories of subjectively high quality or substantial length, which may stay for up to blank weeks. Most often, any previous story is erased as soon as a new subject arrives. 1195 appears to remember certain individuals, and based on a previous story quality and other experiences, will show varying levels of excitement and cooperation during subsequent sessions. Attempts to damage the book have met with varied results. It is clear that cosmetic and superficial damage to the exterior is lasting. As such, experiments must adhere to a guideline that they do not cause further damage to this area. The pages, however, seem to be replicated with no upward limit. 1195 generates additional pages as needed. In the event that a page is physically removed from the object, text fades from the excised page immediately, and kerning on the remaining pages is adjusted so that the original full text is accommodated. Writing into the book has the same communicative results as speaking orally during initial interaction. Once the recitation process has begun, however, text handwritten will be absorbed after a moment and responded to. For example, a written-in note about 1195's choice of formatting a particular paragraph will be considered and neither disregarded or the format changed. Document W37, request made by 1195 as a blankety-blank 2000-something. Tell me a better story, 8,985 times. Tell me a story. Tell me a better story, 1,158 times. No kissy stuff, 972 times in response to narratives featuring erotic or romantic content. Tell me a joke, 604 times. Leave me alone, I'm sleepy, 411 times. Leave me alone, you're stupid, 293 times. Come back, I'll be good, I promise. 74 times made in response to reading sessions being aborted or to certain readers being replaced mid-section. I want my mommy, 1 time. Okay. So that was indeed a bunch of weird child things. Except for Criminal Past, that was weird. But the rest of it, Criminal Past and Buried Giant were one thing, and the rest of it was weird kid things. But that about does it for this episode of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. And the next one we'll be checking out Chiropractors, which is pronounced like Chiropractors, Room for One, Endless Echo, Flesh Tone Paint, and a little taste of Factory. Which, if that's not about the factory, I will be shocked. So, if you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. and I will see y'all in the next one. Later!